good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Ox Chair Martin Show this evening as the one and only Port Bear. And young JM, how we doing, boys?
Very well, mate. Good to be on with yourself. And JM, first time on me, mate.
Yeah, evening, lads. Yep, good to be on. Good to join you for the first time, Port.
Yeah. And is that Hawaiian sunset the colour, Port?
The wee top up the night, actually, mate. I got
tropical paradise.
Yes. I got to keep the tan look, mate. That's creosote, is what the Albert used to call
it. Clear us all.
Yeah.
Well, good on you, mate. Good on you. Whatever makes you happy. Right, we're looking forward to doing this all day, have we, JM?
yeah. Sitting around all day trying to find something positive, I think. Wasn't it? Been more excited to talk about matches, that's for sure.
Yeah, we can't hide for it, Port. We can't hide for it. Look, I don't think it was a shock to a lot of people that we didn't win the game last night. I think it was a surprise and a disappointment with those 5 goals, Port Bear.
Aye, look, 100%, mate. The clinic's open, Oxford. This is going to be like tonight. There'll be a lot of Bears probably going to call in the night with their theories, angry still, probably, people still hurting. But, the manner we lost some of the goals is probably shocked a lot of people because we thought we were maybe taking a wee step forward when the Tweets game at Ibrox. We looked in patches, although they had a lot of dominance. We still looked in patches dangerous on the counter. So we didn't think we were to tie. In fact, we were still in it right up until obviously the leg in PSV over Eindhoven, mate. And I just think, if I'm brutally honest, mate, we get beat by the better team.
Aye, the best team won, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But it was a bit like Foxy's love, mate, and it was exciting for about 90 seconds after we got the goal, Jaya.
Yeah, I think possibly the story of the tie, and also maybe the story of the qualifiers happened sort of against the Bet. I know we obviously went on to win that, but just conceding goals at the wrong times in both legs. Obviously, the conceding the equaliser at Ibrox, I know that wasn't so quick, but if you go over there with a lead, obviously it's better than going over there equal, and then maybe there's a touch more pressure on them, and then obviously just how quick that goal, we didn't give them any time to panic, did we? We didn't get an opportunity to score a goal, and then if we could have got our foot on the ball for another, sounds silly, maybe 2-3 more minutes and start attacking again, maybe some panic sets in, but obviously we never had the chance to see that.
Aye, I think that just sucks all the energy out of our team, who kept going, and we had glimpses. Obviously Matondo hit the post, a good effort by the boy. Arguably he was our best outfield player, Port Bear.
I think that's fair. I think when it comes to the forward line, he looked the most dangerous and looked the most likely. That one he went on the run as well. A few wee step overs and got the great save after the keeper. And the one you're touching on as well, the one again goes straight to the heart of the defence and hits the post. He's the only one that looked likely, mate. Although I think, again, and it's this problem we have, I don't think Bale still knows his first 11, mate, and I think he's still putting square pegs in round holes. You know what I mean? But let's take the hand away for PS.
We'll come to that, mate.
Yeah.
But JM, I thought Dessers was pretty anonymous last night. Yeah, obviously you'll say he didn't get any service, but yeah, you get that. But there's things you've got to do when you're leading the line pretty much on your own. You've got to work hard, done that in patches, keep the ball when you can, and run. You're maybe only going to have to gear now, but I think the criticism will come to the manager with the recruitment. If we're honest, the only success we've had so far has been Jack Butland.
Yeah, 100%. None of the new signings as such, if you take maybe, even in the game, we'll go into that probably in more detail, but none of the new signings so much have looked to improve our starting 11. You look at the midfield, if you like the midfield centre three, John Lundstrom to me was the best by a mile out of the three of them. I mean, I didn't think when we were signing all these players I'd be saying that in a Champions League qualifier. And then obviously I know people are going to say you can't go on about it, but that role that Dessers is playing, he's replaced Morelos in that role, hasn't he? And it's for people, God, if Alfredo Morelos put in a performance like that, people would want him out the door, wouldn't they? I know you've got to give people a chance, but that's 4 European ties I've seen him. I know he got a couple of assists and all that, but still not quite seeing what he offers. He's not giving that defence any respite at all.
No, on the midfield. Young Nico Laraskin, I know you're a fan of Port Bear. He works hard. He reads the game well for trying to nick in front of people. His distribution's got to improve, mate.
That's one thing I wouldn't criticise him for in his first 6 months at the club box. I thought he was a neat passer. You know, he played the simple game. It looks to me like he's trying to be something that he's not. I think for me, he's trying too hard. He's trying to make World Cup passes that are on the air. You know, I think he should just get back to what we saw, what excited us all, making that, you know, breaking up play, as you said, nicking in, stealing the ball. His reading of the game is excellent, and just get back to basics and start, you know, short passes. He doesn't need 30, 40-yard passes next year. None of the role he plays. What he needs to be doing is making the game simple again, because that's when he looks more effective to me. But Nico Raskin's has not had a great start to the season, in my opinion, mate.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. That's fair. But I think we like him, and we see there's potential there, Giant. But his distribution, when you play that part of the park, it's got to be better. And the thing is, when you run past somebody and they don't make the right pass, you can't get back because you can't be in two places at once.
No, this is the problem, and I think they're definitely, you can look at him, he's got all the attributes to be a player and a top player as well. But I think, especially in Europe, and to be honest, even a couple of the league games away, he seems to have spells, if you like, maybe 5 or 10 minutes where he can dominate a game. He looks quick, he does things, he intercepts, but then he can disappear for a bit. He's looked to disappear this season, but he didn't do when he came in last season. And I think the problem is when you're in the centre of the park, you need to, I think it'd be unfair to say he's hiding, but it's almost as if he doesn't seem to be able to, especially in Europe, find the space to get the ball. So, and when you're in the middle of the park, you need to be on the ball all the time and constantly in the game. You can't just drift in and out of games of doing good things. I know we'll dive into the goals and their chances a bit later, but again, he looked like he had lost a man a couple of times. I think for the first time I think that's the first time he's actually, everyone said, oh, he looks good for his age. I think last night where you could say the first time he maybe looked a bit young for the level and a bit naive.
Yeah, but he was playing directly up against a 22-year-old.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to get onto. The best player on the park was the same age. I mean, I don't know the birthdays, but the boy might have even been younger than him.
Yeah, I think the boy was ages with me, you know.
That's fair, mate. That's fair.
Yeah, so right, yeah. We'll go back. We'll come to team selection in a minute because we'll talk about the managers and his thoughts. But actual game, the first sort of 10 minutes, we started okay. We had them back, and then slowly they got into the game. Once they got into the game, running about between 10 and 15 minutes. If I'm honest, apart from a couple of the breakaway with Dessers and the 3 opportunities we had to put Matondo in and we failed to roy them, we didn't threaten. And it was like defence against attack. Port Bear.
That's exactly what it was, mate. You know, when you them 3 particular chances that we never found Matondo in, he was out on that left-hand side. And the right pass into him, mate, he'd have probably scored the exact same goals. He scored at Ibrox and they just bent it on the keeper. But again, slack in the middle of the park. There's no hiding place in there, Oxdear. When you're in there and you make a slack pass at that level, you're punished. Whether it be, you know, a breakaway and a through and goal, or the guys you touched on a minute ago, Raskin's out of position, can't get back to cover. So again, you know, we're all over the place in midfield. They looked very disjointed last night, mate.
You felt the goal was coming, and there was the move when Jack Butland, who was my best player, had a great save for a similar move before they scored. So the warning signs were there. There was a cross with De Jong. I felt he should have scored, and I thought Golson and Tav won the great, and you could have got a daily record under Tav if you watch it again. Then when they did score the goal, it was 3-2, and they just worked the opening. Nice bit of foot with them, cut it back. A wee chap, and the guy was there coming in, picked his spot, 1-0 down. We were actually, I think when you're watching it, you'd be thinking, right, let's try and get to half time, and we never managed it. That was a big minute, a big point, a big moment in the game, mate.
Yeah, I think PSV's shape, mate, it just looked they were able to compete and contend with our formation the whole night, mate, in my opinion. We didn't. We couldn't deal with their rotations, their movement down both sides. They were slick, you know what I mean? They were far better than they were in the first leg. And then Sabiri, who was decent in the first leg, Sabiri just had the game of his life last night, mate, and Big De Jong just proved an absolute handful for both of our centre halves. I mean, largely, I think.
They bullied the two of them, mate.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And largely, I think that's where the game was won and lost last year as well. With their ability to, you know, the wingers were switching sides, and Sabiri was just picking up that number 10 role, but drifting everywhere. Everyone was going through him. And sometimes I'm watching it and I was wondering, I'm shouting at TV, you know, and I'm going, who's picking Sabiri up? Who's supposed to be on him? Because one minute I seen, you know, Raskin on him, then I would see Cifuentes coming in on him. Lundstrom was trying to get on him, but couldn't get near him. You know, the guy just did an absolute storm of a game, mate. And largely, as I say, you know, after, in my opinion, I think it became down to attack versus defence, and they were just too slick in the Nighthawks here.
Mm-hmm. So the goal we lost, I mean, I would have went 4-5-1. That's how I'd have set up Giant. But however, we'll come to that. But the goal we lost, it was a decent goal for theirs. There was a couple of errors in it for us. Raskin not going with the runner. Having Cifuentes out in the wing, 3-on-2. They didn't read it. We didn't get cover there. Goals and get pulled out. Why was Suter so far away from the? Why was he so far to the left when you look at it? You know, it was a lot of small wee things, but ultimately it was a decent goal for the attacking side, wasn't it?
Yeah, if we would have scored it, we would have said, oh, that's great third man running, great arrival in the box, good educated ball. You know, it's one of them. I don't know if the boy's seen him, but he's chipped it into an area where a good midfielder will be running in and attacking. But like you say, it's just frustrating when you see a catalogue of errors. Somebody not, you know, it looked like 3-on-2 on the outside. Tav caught in between two positions, maybe not making the right one, maybe getting a bit attracted to the ball. Cifuentes, not for the only time before that goal or for the whole evening, seemed to not be going with anybody at that time. And then, like you say, Raskin, for some reason, is, you know, when a guy makes contact with it, seems to be half a yard or a yard behind him, but not really seen an angle to see if it's laziness or bad play or whatever. And then I never like seeing centre half beating to the ball like Suter was. Like, the guy just got in front of him. How's your body not getting in front of him? How's he more hungrier to win that? But again, not really seen too good of angles to see how much ground Suter had to cover, or it was just a bad bit of luck.
If he had to cover the ground, mate, where is he when the ball's on the right hand touchline?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, has he been attracted to another centre forward, which he shouldn't have been behind his left shoulder? Like you say, you need to cover that space, and everybody needs to shuffle over one. It's like you say, a catalogue of errors, isn't it? Goals has maybe been dragged a bit too far, but then Suter's got to go that way, and everyone's got to come across, haven't they?
Yes, that's right. So I mean, it looks to me if John's he's setting out at the back post there, so he can't influence or defend the goal, and then he's trying to get there.
It was strange, but for some reason as well, and it looked like they worked on it because the two goals were very, very similar. You know, the first one's along the deck, pulled back to the penalty spot, slots. You know, it seemed to be we were getting sucked in towards our own goal, defending too deep. We're going on the 6-yard line. You know, whereas they clearly had that worked on. That, well, they just keep getting sucked back onto almost their goal line or the 6-yard line. So just clip it back, pull it back to the penalty spot, and Siberia or Bierman were willing takers to, you know, be in that position, mate. And I think it's like I said to you earlier on, Cifuentes, I didn't really understand what Hammer Cantwell were doing last night, mate. I think it didn't work for me at all. Cantwell being up beside Dessers, and Cifuentes' job was it to protect Tav because of the boy Dest on the left hand side and the boy Lang, absolute speed merchants. You know, was he supposed to protect Tav, but also if it came to it, you know, follow that runner, which would have been Dest, to the whole way to the box, you know. But I really struggled last night, mate, to understand if they were understanding the instruction given to them by the coaching staff.
Yeah, we'll come to that. We'll come to the manager and the setup in a minute. So we lost the goal, JM, and then the sort of first half petered out after that, didn't it? There wasn't a lot of goal mouth incidents. They'd had their 3 big chances and scored one of them. They seemed happy. That was the first time they'd been ahead in the tie, and we were in 1-0. Were you looking for changes? What were you thinking?
I I wasn't personnel probably. There was probably one change I would have made, and I don't know. I was trying to think how I would have done it, but there was a couple of reasons I was looking for changes. One, way we set up, we'll go into a bit more. Our best football player wasn't getting anywhere near the ball because he was having that run around like a headless chicken, being Cantwell. And I also thought Cifuentes just looked off the pace in the game. Now, I possibly would have been looking at bringing Ryan Jack on at that point and maybe going more to a 4-2-3-1 and trying to get, maybe move Raskin in and try and get him on the ball a little bit more just to change the shape. But I wasn't looking for, it was weird. Apart from that strange 5 minutes, I wasn't too disappointed that once we got in just one goal down, I thought maybe a reset just to calm the troops down. I wasn't looking for massive changes, just maybe a tweak to the shape to try and get us back into it, because it was clear once they got going, we couldn't cope with them. Yeah. And that could be quality or could be shape.
Yeah. What were you thinking at half-time, Plot?
I was pretty similar to JM, mate. I was just looking for a bit of solidity. I think, like you touched on, Jack maybe to come in, because I think the game was passing by Cifuentes. Just, two holders to protect the back four, because Jack's done it for Tav loads of times. It would have also let Tav maybe get further forward. He was getting just pinned back because Dest and Lang were having an absolute field day doing that side. And as I said, without any help with Cifuentes, Cantwell, was JM said, running all over the place, trying to get involved in the game, but failing to deceive. I just think we should have tightened things up last year and tried to stem the flow a wee bit, because they as I said, their fluidity, the way they were changing wings, and the two wingers were just having an absolute Bakayoko and Lang were having a field day, and then Siberia was just finding pockets everywhere, all over the place. We just had to plug the gaps, mate, and try and ride out that storm. I felt that would have helped the squad.
Mm-hmm. So the second half started, and we did not start well, did we? We gave the ball away. Our shape looked all over the place. We weren't good. Giant.
No, it was as if they sort of ran out of time at half time and nobody knew what they were put on the pitch to do, didn't it? It was obviously they got the goal quick, but it was as bad as that spell where, Butler made a good save in that in the first half. It was as bad, if not worse, wasn't it? They had free fall. We couldn't get near the ball. I don't think any of our midfielders touched it for about 5 minutes. It was just defenders punting it. It was just coming straight back. Didn't look like anything productive had been spoke about at half time, did it?
No, that was arguably the most disappointing spell in the match, because you could see it disappearing in front of you, because you knew how big the second goal was going to be, ever who scored it, Port.
Aye, 100%, mate. I certainly was looking for a big reaction. I thought I said, the manager needs to get in there, earn his crust now, get tore in, get some information to players, because I'm thinking he's seen what we're thinking of, seeing what we're seeing, that they're absolutely struggling to understand the instruction they were given. That's the way I felt, especially with Cantwell and Cifuentes in particular, what their jobs, where they're supposed to be and who they're supposed to track. We talked about all these things during that last week of training. They've been talking about it all week, probably. So that was concerning for me, because I'm thinking, nothing was going right. It looked actually worse for the first 5-10 minutes in the second half, and that concerned me, because I thought, God, he should have put a rock up them, and the seat we've come out, and they look worse. But I'll give PSV their dues, mate. I think they actually smelt blood, and I think the manager fired them up and said, go and finish that tie, because, like you said, mate, it was either if we scored the goal, we were right back in it, and the pendulum could swing. But if they get the next one, the air comes out the tyres, and it deflated Rangers, and it proved to be that.
Aye, man. So the second goal, it was so simple when everything's right. The cross gets played in, at back post, the guy's peeled off, played in between Goulson and Tavernier, heads it back across, the boys there. And John just, I don't know, I think it was John Suter's worst game of the season. And he caught in the boy with a simple tap in to make it 2-0, mate. Yeah, JM?
Yeah, I think this is where you really notice that we're not, and by the way, this is nothing to blame. We buy players, we're supposed to pay these players money, so we're looking to compete. Maybe it's optimistic to compete at that level, but in a European level. But I think what you're seeing there is the sharpness off the ball and the thinking through the whole game. even with De Jong and that peeling off both centre back to win headers, that's not through. De Jong doesn't want to win that ball any more than Goldson or Tav or anyone, but he's half a yard sharper. They're constantly moving these guys. They know when the cross is coming in. Like McCoy said at the interview, the striker looked like a striker and Suter looked like a defender, didn't he? Suter watched that for a good half a second, and the strikers got away from him. I think that's where we started to see the difference in quality was more the off the ball movement and the sharpness. Because again, you'd say, oh, that's a great goal, great movement, but where are our defenders? Where's the protection for the goalkeeper and any of that?
What?
You've got to give yourself a chance in these matches. And one thing we always say about John Suter is he attacks everything and he usually wins his duels. But last night, mate, they were on it and we were losing first, second balls. They were just up for it. They were obviously clearly wanting to get through in that tie, and I'm not saying we weren't, but the quality of the show last night, Oxford, it shows you the market we're shopping in compared to the market they're shopping in. And they've only made a couple of signings to add to what they had last year, but them couple of signings have made a massive difference in the money they spent because of the quality they've brought in. We've brought in players, a lot of players who need time to gel. Oxford, I mean, I'm not going to stand here or sit here and slate the team, slate the manager. A lot of things went wrong, but this is a brand new team. We're 3 games into our season, and obviously we're Champions League qualifier. But I do think it needs time, mate. Their team just looked more cohesive, a team that's played together longer, and then they've just added a wee bit of, stardust to their wings, the back of Yoko and Lang, and it's turned their team into a decent Champions League team. I think they all like the Champions League anyway, do.
Good points, Jim. You want to come back?
Yeah, no, I will as well. I mean, to be honest, when you're talking about quality, well, obviously our defenders are getting slated. Obviously, with shipped 5 goals, of course you could, but I don't think their defence was up to much either. I think if you like, the difference in quality comes from the front 6 of both teams.
Yeah,
our defenders don't get a rest, do they, Paul, or anything like that. They're constantly going out, they're keeping the ball, it's sharp or whatever. I mean,
not for that middle part of the match between 15 and 60, mate. No rest at all.
No, they're not. They're not getting a rest. They're not getting anything. Whereas their defenders, that bloke could keep up with Matondo because that was he only had to sprint 3 times the whole game. That fullback, didn't he? That was his job, and he knew he could have a breather and just watch the game. And he had to cover Matondo 2 or 3 times, and because he's not being dragged left to right, he's not being worked. He was there to do it. Whereas our defenders weren't getting an opportunity to get away 30 yards, 40 yards from the goal. I don't think there maybe would have been the last 15, 20 minutes there. That would have been the only time Goldson and Suter were on the halfway line passing the ball about.
That's the thing where Dessers has to make it stick. When the ball's going forward, he has to do the job that Alfie done. He has to wrestle, he has to fight, scrap. Exactly what De Jong did. He scrapped with our 2 centre backs the whole night. One flicks, one barging into them. It has to stick to let our midfield get up, to let the fullbacks get some attacking. I don't think Wanst, Borna or Tav managed to get their fullbacks in their right mid and left mid going back the other way at all. I can't remember. Maybe once or twice, but that's not the way their fullbacks play. Their fullbacks are usually the width of our team at the moment, and we didn't get a chance to impose ourselves at all on them.
So, bizarrely, when we got the second goal, we started playing a bit, and then we did some decent bits of football. Nothing spectacular, and we scored a decent goal, and that was, and when we got that goal, and I couldn't believe it, Tavernier appeared and put that ball in the net. So we get the goal, and you're thinking, right, keep us tight. We're in this if we keep it tight, because every time we get there, if we can get in their defence, we might make another chance. But the was it you said earlier on, Port there came out the tyre, 90 seconds, mate, and that the whole thing was just deflated. That was a tie then, giant.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, I'm not live. They didn't show a replay. I've not actually seen the the foul or so-called foul that Tavernier made. He didn't look too impressed, but footballers do that all the time, don't they? But like you're saying, you're wanting 5 minutes there, aren't you? Keep the ball on the deck, or even if you don't touch the ball, get them huffing and puffing, and you're back in the game. You've got them worrying. They think, hang on, we were cruising here. We should have been 4-5-0 up. Now these boys are back in the game. They start to panic, but momentum and goals at the right time, isn't it? That absolutely killed it. And even though obviously we went back and hit the post and whatnot, we'll go on to that. But you can see in the players' faces, a tie was done as soon as that ball went in the net for 3-1.
Well,
it totally deflated us, mate. That was it. Game over. And they knew it. They knew it. You could see it. You could see it in the body language of our players. They think the tails are up. Tav's made a great run at the back post, stuck it into the roof of the net. He does it time and time again, Tav. You know what I mean? But they've just went again, set pieces Oxford. Again, people caught in their heels. I can't understand why De Jong, who's their strongest header of the ball, was getting picked up by Lammers. Aye, Lammers is tall, mate, but he's a forward. So why we not sticking a defender? At that time, I'm sure De Jong Dillon was on at that point. So why we not sticking somebody like Suter, Goldson, or Sterling, who are great headers of the ball, on De Jong? I didn't understand that either, mate. I just, one of the biggest dangers that PSV have got is De Jong. He won probably 80% of his headers last night. Every duel, he was up fighting, scratching, biting. He just fought for everything last night, mate. And I just, set pieces, the setup, and also who instructed Lammers to go on De Jong, mate. I think that was a massive mistake.
Yeah, you worry what goes on there, because what I know, they all get their instructions, don't they? They all set up and wear the mark, but that's where you're starting to look for a bit of leadership, aren't you? Goldson or Suter or something going, no, I've got this guy here, he's not winning this, you boys carry on. Because there was not, I know they had a couple of tall guys in the defence, but they weren't a massive team apart from that. But that Dion was winning everything in open play as well. You're just thinking Tav or Goals, or someone's even got to say to, like you say, Port Sterling, look, you follow him and make sure he don't get a header. We'll clear anything else.
What about this, J.M.? Defend the cross 10 yards further up the park.
Aye.
Yeah, well, I would like to see how deep the wall had to be for that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It was out in the wing a bit. What do you reckon? 35, 40 yards for the goal?
40 yards, yeah.
Aye. So why did we have to go where they played it when we lined up similar how you would line up as a corner? And it looked to me as if we went zonal, Port.
Which I hate. I hate it, mate. I cannot stand it. I'm old school. I like to touch and like to feel who I'm marking. I know who I'm marking, and that's the guy I'll mark the whole game.
Enough about Bennett's for you, mate.
Yeah. No, I like to be touched out to whoever I'm marking, mate. It's just the way I've always played the game. I don't understand this zonal marking. I understand why they do it, but when you're leaking goals and you're not renowned, especially this season, at set pieces for keeping clean sheets, just get to your guy, get a grip of him, and make sure he knows your Aerox. Yeah, simple, basic defending.
Giant.
Yeah, I'm with Paul. I like the mixture of a bit of zonal, to cover like the sort of short cross or quite a bit. Then I like man for man. I think the problem with zonal is it's easy to pass on responsibility. How many times do you see when we conceded from a corner or a long throw in like in Kilmarnock, and 3 or 4 of them are looking at each other? Well, if one of you were picking up the man scoring, you know who to blame. I think it's too easy to suddenly start passing on blame when you go zonal, and especially when, like you say, we've not been solid from set pieces, maybe for a couple of seasons now, few seasons. You need to go back to basics and make sure you're picking up the men that could be dangerous from the set pieces.
For me, John Suter goes on him, and I know he gave him a torrid time, and maybe Connor's maybe slightly taller. I think John's better than there.
Yep.
So John gets the job, but when you look at the goal, when he gets between Tav and Lammers, again, Goldson and Suter are the other side of the goal, Port Bear.
And I know, mate, absolutely criminal. I mean, if anybody's seen it first, we slate Tav on here, or we critique Tav on here for his inability and his defensive duties, right? Born or similar. But McGee suited a lot of praise because he attacks, his aggressive attack was good in the air, he's strong. And Connor Goldson's a decent defender as well. You know, they're the two guys that have been doing this centre back, they've been them the whole of their careers. They should understand where they should be next year. Now, Connor Goldson, Tav and Bonner are part of the defence that only give 13 goals away in a full season. You know, so they have proved we can keep goals out, out the team. But for some reason, since we won that title, mate, the inability for us to defend has been evident since Gerrard left. We've never looked as solid at the back since Gerrard left. And Michael Beale was part of that. So what's going wrong, mate? Where's it falling down? Why is our defence a leaky at the moment?
Set up, we're coming up. Well, we can talk about the fourth and fifth goals all day long, but the great bit of play after that, Rabbi Matondo hit the post, could have made it 3-2, and then it gets interesting. It didn't, but those two late goals, as the energy gets sucked out of the team, the tie was done, particularly when the third goal were in, yeah. Listen, we've been chatting a while here. I think we better get these phone lines open. Yeah?
See if anyone can be more cheery than us.
Yeah, see if anybody's getting jokes. Right? Right. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show. It's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Right, JM, Port, you keep your powder dry. JM, the manager's set up.
Right. You know what? Manager set up for the first 25 minutes. If you told the manager that he would have set up like that, and if you took before the passes, and we would have got 3 opportunities to play Rabbi Matondo in 1-on-1, is he not done his job right? How much more can he do for that? For the first 25 minutes, I think we had 3 good opportunities to play Rabbi Matondo in. We didn't. That came from the shape. That came from playing him cheating. Kind of playing him a bit higher with Cervantes not being as high, and it worked. But then we lacked a bit of quality. But then as the game wore on and as they came into the game, I think the shape showed its weaknesses. You had your best footballer on the pitch nowhere near where the ball was because he's running around like a headless chicken because he's playing in an area of the pitch, let's be honest. He's basically playing as a striker. He's not a striker. He's a centre midfielder. He can't play there. We're letting a team that play out wide have the overload on the wings when they've got a 6-foot-plus centre forward who loves to head of the ball. That's only going to invite trouble. I think there's serious questions when you dive into that about the setup over both legs.
What bit? Port?
Yeah, mate, I basically think you only need to look at Michael Beale's interview last night. Immediately, the first words out his mouth is, I take the blame for this. And I think that tells you a lot because obviously he's made the master plan to try to win that tie and he's went with his team that he did. Like I said earlier on, I couldn't see the benefit of Cantwell where he was. I didn't see what he bring. He was playing a position too far forward for my liking. So there was no link man from midfield to front. For me, he should have been a slightly bit deeper. And as much as Matondo done really well, he should be the one that I think might get closer to Dessers. But the whole focal point of the attack has to, your spearhead has to be Dessers, mate. He has to make the ball stick. Which then you could have got Matondo and Campbell close to him and things could have happened. But that's where it started to fall down for me at Dessers. And then I couldn't understand what Cifuentes was trying to do. I know we're playing like a 4-4-2, so I thought he was in for protection to protect Tav from Dest and Lang, which I don't think he protected Tav at all, mate. I really don't. Even when Lang was running off and coming inside while inverted.
Cifuentes had a shocker, mate. He had a shocker, mate. You can talk about other people, but ultimately he was that poor last night. We were playing with 10 men, along with others, mate.
Yeah, he offered no protection to midfield or Tav, mate. That's how I said, and JM touched on it as well. That's why we think Jack should maybe introduced maybe even after half an hour, because I could tell after half an hour that Cifuentes was well off it, mate. He was not understanding what his instruction was to be, which in my opinion was to protect Tav and be an extra man in midfield if given space. That should have let Tav go outside him. But they were just relentless last night, making their attack down the wings.
Mm-hmm. So we still went with 4-5-1 where we had two there and we had somebody out wide making a set up, yeah.
Aye, yeah.
You know. And
Sometimes
I'm not saying that
know your
negative.
level, Oxia.
Huh?
Sometimes I just say, know your level. You know, I wouldn't have, been upset last night if he set up 4-5-1 and tried to hit the counter attack. I
The
think that would
personnel
be
would have been
sensible.
the exact same. And he was your best player last night and he was an out. And he out for me, he would have been an impact player. Was Robbie Matondo, and I felt a bit sorry for the boy because it's one of his better games for us. Another day, he got played in once or twice. He hit the post and he kept going. Some of his positional play wasn't great at times in set pieces, but right, anyway. Right, okay, we've been joined by David. All right, David? Oh, he's not quite with us yet. I'll be waiting a second. But aye.
Jumping in on that anyways, but I think because I went in about the start, I think what was quite worrying, it wasn't so much the starting tactics, because any manager at any level can get that wrong, can't they? I think it's the inability that showed there to change it when it clearly wasn't going right.
Yep. All right, I think David's with us now. Evening, David.
Evening, everybody.
How you doing, mate?
I just wanted to talk about the game yesterday. It was really, really dreadful. I didn't think we offered anything to threaten PSV at all. The goal that Tavernier got was inconsequential. It was a really one-sided game. Defensively, we just were all over the place. We didn't have an answer for what PSV was doing to us. I think it always comes down to the same thing. You've seen the same movement all the time. Anytime Tav comes out, they were getting down that side and getting joy out of it every single time. And Michael Beale just did nothing about it at all. It was really difficult to watch, especially midfield wise as well. We might as well have not had a midfield the way we were playing.
We touched on that. I mean, Lundstrom. I mean, I don't think any of the players get past Max Barton, maybe Matondo with a 5.5, and Big Butland to those 5 goals. Would we fair to give him a 7? The midfield was poor. Yeah, David, the midfield was poor. You can dress it. There's no, and that also makes the defence having to defend more when they're getting through on top of your midfield and the defence gets pummeled, and that ultimately lost goals, mate.
I think you could see it from the beginning, maybe 20 minutes in. You could just see PSV were determined to win that match. And I was never convinced that we were looking to score. I was really surprised that Tavernier actually scored, to be honest with you. The front line for me is still a really big worry. We spent £7 million on a player and he sits on the bench most of the time. I don't get what Michael Beale's trying to do. It doesn't make sense to me.
There'll be a lot of questions in a manager put there.
I think that's what he's left us doing, mate. I think he's left us all scratching my head because, like Giant touched on, sorry, start me your starting lineup because you've worked on that all week and that's who you selected. But after 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, we are sitting on the edge of our sofas, biting our nails because we're making PSV look like world beaters, mate. And they're a very, very good side. I believe they're much, better than us. I'd like to think we're on a par with them. Certainly last season we were, but they seem to have went on leaps and bounds. Adding obviously the quality they've added. But my worry is it was Beale's reactive responses to seeing it not working. Like Giant touched on, no tweaking it. Cifuentes was miles off. Just a rough change, mate. Just get Jack in there. Jack's got a job, right? Cover the midfield. and if Tab gets forward, you need to sit and cover him. We just had to tighten things up, mate, and he didn't react to when it was going wrong, and that worries me more.
Giant.
Yeah, I think the difference in quality comes from the front six. I think that's where you notice the difference. I think if their defence was put under that amount of pressure, they would have leaked at least a few goals as well. But I think when you start comparing what players from each of the front six, if you like, from Veerman to Lundstrom, or I can't remember all the wingers' name, but both wide men are better. De Jong looks a better player than Dessers and so forth. I think that's where the issue comes from, and where the head scratching comes from the manager is he was very clear to make it from whenever it was Ross Wilson moved on that they were his players. And you start wondering what he's seen, how they think, how them players don't look like they improve our team from last season going forward.
Yeah, and Port made a point there, David, about PSV might have improved. We might not be as good as we were this time last year, and that's worrying because how the season panned out. David?
I think it's going to sound bad, but when Connor Goldson was running out his contract, I really don't think we should have signed him again. For me, the reason he signed again was because nobody else wanted him. Nobody that he wanted to go to anyway. And we've signed him back, and it's a few times that he's been found to be the problem. But he can't defend two areas at once as well, because of Taverniers bombing up all the time. It's very easy for any team to know what we are going to do. And I think come Sunday, if we don't win, I think Michael Beale is in big trouble.
I don't think you'll be alone in those thoughts, David. Port, listen, going back to Connor Goldson, the week before I thought he had a tremendous performance considering the length of time his injuries. I do agree. I would have never given him a 4-year contract.
No, we spoke about this on the show when the contract situation came out last year. We all felt, possibly 2 year with an option a year, or even some even said 1 year with an option another. The thing is, last year when he signed the contract, there was a lot of guys, positive. There was guys on the show negative about it. But the thing is, what you've got to remember is much would it cost to replace Connor Goldson, and in financial terms, we weren't in a great position to go out and spend 6, 7, 8 million on a centre half, because that's what it would take to replace somebody that's given us as much as Connor Goldson's given us. What you've got to remember, this guy always makes himself available. He's hardly ever injured. Granted, the last couple of seasons there's a few wee niggly injuries, but he only just come back from an injury recently. He come back in to play starting the league games and these qualifiers when he could have probably sat on the bench for a couple of weeks just to make sure that his rehab was completed. But he always puts himself up there next year. And like you touched on there earlier on, last week against PSV at home, he was outstanding. He was like the quality we touched on. He was covering Tav and covering his own area. But you always say, you can't be in two places at one time and hone in on your position when you've got to cover other people's inability to defend.
No, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can't be in two places at once.
No.
But listen, last night, David, I think we can pick on individual players, but collectively, the people that were on the pitch, the coaching staff, everything was poor.
I think as I said, about the maybe 20-minute mark, it just looked as if we had gave up to, right, we'll defend and we'll hold out and we'll see what happens. And then they started scoring, and then that was it. The minute they scored the first goal, it was over. For me, that's the truth. And for me, it's the really big worry I've got is I'm still really not convinced about the forward line. The only person that I kind of like so far is Lammers. He seems to be somebody who'll come good, but the rest of them have got big question marks over their heads. And come Sunday, somebody needs to step up, or the manager could be away.
Well, The trouble is, mate, I don't think it's that simple. I don't know if we can sack the manager, but his players, but he will be under a lot of pressure, Giant. But let's hope. We'll get to Sunday as the nights roll on, and let's hope we're on a better mood.
Yeah, obviously it's going to take time. Oh, sorry, David, carry on.
Maybe I'm just raging. That's all.
You're not alone, Giant.
Yeah, no, obviously everyone's going to pick the bones out of it. It sounds a bit. The result was it's the scoreline, isn't it? Not the result and the manner. I'm not even too worried about the late goals because watching it and take it in isolation, the wind's been knocked out their sails, hasn't it? It's not thing me. The result, they would have been favourites before the two legs started, PSV. But I just think the scoreline raises a few questions, doesn't it? If that went on and we huff to puff a little bit and we end up losing that game 2-1, we're not being as negative, are we? Even if they can't. I know it didn't, but at the end of the day, we lost to a really good side over two legs. It's not going to be near the quality we're facing Sunday, and we can be positive going up to that, I think.
Yeah, but I think that some of the negativity, I'll take this to Port, and David can chip in and back yourself, Champ. We don't see what we're trying to achieve. Yeah, we don't see a style of play. We don't see the players that were brought in saying, oh, he's a good player, or he's scored 6 goals already this season, he's a good finisher, or that Lammers is offering us a lot because he's creative and he's making chances galore. We don't see it. The only one that's getting pass marks so far, and I'm saying so far, is the goalkeeper, Portbear.
Which is concerning, is it not? I'm with you, mate. I don't see a philosophy where I remember when Gerrard came in with Beale. I remember when Gio came in. I seen a philosophy. I seen how the setup was going to be. I understood what they were trying to achieve. They got players in to suit their philosophy. So whatever formation they were going to pick and how they were going to play, there was players brought in by Ross Wilson to make that happen. But since Beale's come in, mate, and we've done a pre-season with him now, and he's got his players in, mostly his players. I'm not seeing it next year so far. I don't know our formation yet. I don't know our best team yet, and that concerns me.
David?
If I am completely on the same page as you there, for me, there's only maybe 3 or 4 players that I would say, right, okay, maybe they can do something. Raskin is obviously, he's not that type of player to play in that game. He's going to keep getting better. He's still young yet. Cantwell, again, same goes. I think he's got a point to prove. So that's always good when somebody's got a feather in the he'd go, right, I need to prove myself here. I do think, as I said, Lammers is good, but if you're creating stuff and there's nobody there,
I don't mean to be rude, David, but when have we, and since the domestic season started, apart from the goal against Livingston, what has Lammers done to make you think that?
For me, it's his movement, and you can see that there's something there. It's one of the unexplainable things you can see in his eyes almost, that he is trying and he's there to do something. If he is creating chances, it's just that nobody's getting at the end of it. And for us to spend £7 million a lot for Rangers, and the guy's barely getting on the pitch. So why did we pay that amount of money? There's just something's no clicking yet. And for me, it's mostly down to Michael Beale's tactics. I don't see what he's trying to achieve and what he's trying to create. With Gio, we knew where we were. It was get it up the wings, bomb it in the middle, hope somebody gets an end. At least you knew what was happening. But now it's like there's no plan at all. It's just, right, we'll fling these 7 players in and hopefully they can do something. And most of them have not done anything, if we're brutally honest about it.
Yeah. Listen, I thought Lammers was our best player in pre-season, but since the season started, I think he's been pretty anonymous. He played for about 10 minutes against Inverness and maybe 5 minutes last night. I think he's been anonymous. Good goal against good goal against Livingston, but even in that game, when he got the goal with the piece, he was anonymous. You know, I don't think any of our forward players in the signings up to now, JM, have shown.
No, I think I see what David's saying. I think the problem is they've all shown, mate, and when I say glimpses, I mean glimpses. There's not been a whole game when any of the forwards players have gone, oh, he's had a quality game. You know, you've seen Seema have good moments, scoring a good goal, coming on, having a good few runs, but then he's not picking the right passes. You're seeing the odd touch from Dessers, but then you're worried about when he can't control it, ball bouncing off him, giving away silly fouls. Danilo seems to be a funny one. We've spent a lot of money on him, and he's looking like a striker that isn't fancied already, which is a little bit worrying. Yeah, you've got to look at, I mean, compare it to the difference when Kolak came in. I think he has scored 6 goals by now. Up to now. He has scored in both qualifiers. He has scored in the league. He had looked like a poacher. But also maybe that's half down to the manager, because even though he's stuck with Dessers as like this number 9, it's all been tinkering, hasn't it? There's not been, as we've said, through Port and through David, there's not one set style when he's saying, well, that's obviously how we're going to try and get our goals. It's as if he sort of signed these players and thought, right now I've got to make them fit, instead of signing players to fit to a certain style going forward.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I mean, we always react badly to any defeat, but we react worse to heavy defeats, Port, because we don't expect it. But they spent £50 million on a player for Ghent, €50 million, sorry. And one of the players that played against us last night, I think you've got some news to show you where we're at. How much has been bid tonight?
Brentford have come in and try to steal the march on Bakayoko, who was the right winger last night, who absolutely tore it up. 40 million starting bid. There you go. That's the level of players that they're producing.
They obviously never looked at our bench last night because Scott Wright was sitting there.
Aye. Just what you touched on there in regards to, you know, the system, mate, and players. You know, I mentioned earlier on, you know, the square pegs and round holes. I was concerned early doors when I seen the amount of activity in regards to buying forward line. I understand that we need forward players to score goals, but I felt there was other areas in the team. I felt we went for all number 9s. Lammers was a 10, but we never bought a 7 or 11. Next year, I don't think we've got any width in the team. I don't think we've got natural wingers, natural creative players that, as well as your fullbacks, creating chances for your centre forwards. I wanted a forward line this year, mate, that with 2 similar wingers to what PSV had last night. I wanted their guys to be the guys that get us on the edge of our seat and create chances, get the assists. You know, let them go and get the goals and the assists. No Tav and Borner, let them defend. I wanted your front 6, what Giant touched on. I wanted that to be our front 6, creating goals this season.
Can I just cut across you, Port Bear? I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish Glenn Kamara all the best, and as he moves on to Leeds United, we're waiting for the fee. Hopefully it's no undisclosed. And I, for one, will never forget his swinging his boot against Leipzig that ultimately helped us get to Seville. But Glenn Kamara, 50 grand. My guys went stale, if I'm honest, JM, but a good footballer.
Yep, shame how it ended, because great servant, 50 grand, some great performance actually. This time last season, he looked like the £40 million midfielder, didn't he, in that away leg against PSV. He was immense in that game, and then, some memorable goals, some great performances. Always seemed to have conducted himself in the right way. Maybe a slight shame how it's maybe ended and petered out, but some service for 50 grand.
Yeah, and also just breaking news, Port Bear, just for you, I know you like. We Sparta Prague eliminated Dinamo Zagreb. That means we'll be in pot 1 for the Europa League. Port Bear.
That'll do me, mate. Pot 1's a good pot to be in. If I'm honest, mate, and some people might shoot me down for this, I think that's our level. I think we're Europa side. I think that's the way we're operating as a club at the moment. Finances, the ability of the squad. I think that's where we're at the moment, mate. If we want to get to the promised land and Champions League music, I'm going to just say, mate, we need to start dominating.
there's going to have to be a root and branch thinking about the whole of Scottish football because of how we play the game, the pitches we play on, the stadiums we play in to try and attract players, but TV deal, the state of some of the facilities at the top level, no offence to the clubs, are trying their best. You try to attract players and people. Ross County's ground, Kilmarnock's ground, Livingston's pitch, Kilmarnock's pitch. There's so much to look at. The 4 times a season, does that work? Does that influence or make our game better or worse? So far since last night, it's just what we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 13 goals. The Scottish teams are concerned and conceded and scored 1. Yeah, there's got to be thinking now. You need competition to push on and make teams improve. And a certain team, they all fell for it in 2012, all sucked, and we're still paying a heavy price for it. We've had some, as we've drove on under Stevie G, and obviously with the Seville trip, the coefficient rose and we done everybody a favour. But that's the level we're at as a country now. When you see the results tonight, and some of the teams are playing are decent, but we're not competing at all. Giant.
Yeah, I was under the impression that after 2013 that we would have had 4 teams in the Champions League and everybody was going to be competing for everything. But I think, as you see there, it's all to do with finances, isn't it? We're talking about the difference in finances between us and PSV. You look at what these other clubs are dealing with as well in Scotland. You can tell we're not watching half the games of football we're watching with Rangers. They're not games of football, are they? They're wrestling matches. Maybe we should have tried to play like some of these teams played against us last night, but it needs a complete refresh. You need to be playing on good, quick pitches, good players, young players. The amount of the same players you see in the Scottish League just bouncing around the teams, Sunday League standard players, it's abysmal. It just needs a complete reset.
But the international break's coming up, and I'm sure we maybe have a special one night and get people's thoughts put better.
That'd be great, mate. You know my thoughts for all levels in Scotland. I think there's clubs even doing the Championship. I've been a big advocate for making the league bigger. I think there's clubs doing the Championship that would get better stadiums than some of the clubs in Premier League. Some of the clubs they would do very well in a bigger league setting in Scotland. Even down to the very bottom of the pyramid, maybe it starts with the junior teams and that as well. I think they could be up another couple of levels down to the lower end of the Scottish divisions as well. There's some cracking, well-run clubs, Kelty Hearts, etc. Johnston Borough, to name but a few. I think they're all doing their bit, mate. I think, like JM touched on, Scottish football needs a massive press on the reset button, mate, because it's getting stale, it's getting boring. We're tied into long TV deals. We can't get money into our clubs. We just need. There's lots of places now, mate, that are showing football, like Amazon and all these places. We need to get a piece of that pie as well, mate, and get our game up a few levels and on TV to get money in. The better standard players, or the gap's going to continue to get bigger between Champions League teams throughout Europe. You'll soon not see teams like Rangers and Celtic in Champions League because the money's just going to keep, getting further and further and further. And we'll never make that unless you win your league. But if the coefficient keeps dropping, we'll lose an automatic place next year. So we have to qualify every year.
Honest, we only go to it for what we've done for 5 years.
Yeah,
now.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
But anyway, we've reached that time in the evening and we're going to have a tune.
With
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, it was sore because of the scoreline and where we are, and we can criticise all we want, but the transfer window's shutting shortly and doesn't seem to be any movement, because I think we would like to get some players, maybe more players out the door, JM, and maybe bring another in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was saying how he wanted to cut his squad down a bit. Obviously, that's a lot of players, and then that's a lot of players not playing football that I've never been in a professional dressing room myself, but I imagine that can make things difficult. You know, it's like any other level. People aren't playing. There's people who are mates with each other and different things that could bring it down. And also, unfortunately, even though the signings, it looks like we're lacking maybe still a little bit of everything through the spine, aren't we? I know you're not going to go and sign another 3 or 4 players, but it looks like we could do with one more bit of quality at least, doesn't it?
A lot of people will be saying a centre half, and then domestically, is that what we're short? I don't know. And what would maybe Ben Davis, but he's there. He's got 3 years to go in his contract, and he doesn't move. But there's a lot of things come into it. Yeah.
I think there's still need to. If you start with centre half, I think one would need to go out, mate. And probably the most likely to get some money back would be Ben Davis. But I think we've left it far too late again, mate. And yet again, another season rolls by, and we've not got that right hand side of our forward line filled. I think we're seriously going to regret next year not getting a winger, an absolute out and out winger, because I think I can't see how he's going to keep Lammers, Danilo, and Dessers happy with Kamal Rufer as well. I can't see how you're going to take that enough to make the four of them, you know, happy and keeping it all gelling together, mate. I just think he's too top heavy in that number 9 sort of position. But I think he should spend the money on wingers.
Is it no Danilo, Dessers, Roof, and Lammer's job to keep us happy, mate? No, their job to keep them happy, because they're getting well rewarded for whatever they do.
Oh no, 100%, mate, 100%. I just can't see, mate. Honestly, I'm absolutely struggling to find out and understand how he's going to get that front 2, 3, however he's going to play it, mate. I'm failing to understand how he gets that to work without service, because right now I'm struggling to see where the service is coming from, especially in Europe, because our full backs are getting hemmed in. Domestically, they're getting forward, but in the tournament that we earn our money and we're supposed to look good, I'm worried about going forward next year, because there's no natural width in your team.
Oh, I mean, you've heard me, and JM, you've heard me for the start of the season, yeah. Yeah, we're too narrow. Out of possession and in possession.
Yeah, and what I think is quite scary is it's not like he's signed wingers and they've maybe not quite hit the ground running, or there's maybe been a lack of quality. I think with the way he lined up in pre-season, it really don't look like Michael Beale was interested in playing with wingers. And even with the exclusion of, he wasn't really playing Sakala. Obviously, he was moving on. You don't know how long that was in the background for. The exclusion of Matondo originally from the European squad. It looks like Beale from the start had decided that wingers weren't the way to play. Now, that might not be plan A, but what kind of team don't have plan B, having a couple of wingers on the bench to change it? That means it looks like to me his whole thoughts, the old school Mark Warburton, plan A, plan B is just going to be let's do plan A better. There's no versatility there with the players we've got, all very much the same.
Yeah. Well, as I say, the manager, I think he should supported with the board. People wonder about the cash we've spent, but you've increased the wages for some of these players to bring them in because wages have moved on in the last 3 or 4 years. We've got a lot of high earners out, but that'll be covered by the people we've brought in, Port, yeah?
Yeah, aye, 100%, mate. I just, by now, got to remember, Beals had been there 6 months before this season. He said a pre-season, and you don't know, JM doesn't know, and I don't know who the best team, and we don't know and understand the philosophy that we're expected to see by now. I think, I don't know if you agree, guys, I think we've went back a wee bit for his first 6 months at the club when he came in at Christmas. There's no forward. I don't see the team progressing forward, guys. I don't.
We've definitely, I think, there's definitely not been a mass improvement since January, has there? And with his players as well, you're not going, oh, he's got a few of his players, and now we're suddenly looking a lot better going forward or whatnot. I mean, who would have genuinely thought signing all these players in January that we'd still be talking about? To be honest, I know you boys have said Matondo pass, but I actually thought for the whole game, considering who he was playing with, I thought Lundstrom done all right last night, and I never thought we'd be talking about him playing for us again at the start of pre-season.
Well, you can only see how you see it, and I thought he was the best in the midfield, but that's not exactly a compliment last night, is it?
No, but that's what I'm saying is at least you got to remember he's playing well above. The bloke was playing at Oxford United, Sheffield United, and the bloke was playing well above any level he probably thought he's ever going to be playing at, and he at least took some responsibility and tried to get involved, and for his limited ability, done all right. With some of these other players to be better, and they never showed anything.
Yeah. I've got a question that worried me last night, and I've got worried about the way we sit on the bench as well. We don't look professional, and that annoys me because I think that filters through. On Rangers, we should do everything the best we did properly, and everything should be uniform and look good. And I just think it looked like an amateur bench last night, the way we sat there, and then we start trying to cover my mouth up. That winds me up. But then the other thing I know is, yeah, we have to, it's all about standards at our club and getting things right. And that filters through to dressing rooms. Sport.
No, it certainly does. It certainly does. It all starts with, in my opinion, we look up to your gaffer. That's the guy. He's the focal point of the squad. Everything he says, you listen, you pay attention. He drives the standards through the team. The club has high standards, which should be driven by him through the players. Now, there is some players, in my opinion, that have them standards, but Cantwell, I think he set a standard for himself and set a bar in a level that he plays at, and we expect that off a Todd every game. But what I've noticed under Beale is when he's playing to instruction instead of letting Todd go and do what Todd does, I think you take like 50% of Cantwell away. And these are the standards I'm talking about, Oxford. Why is he not allowing that guy to go and express himself the way he does in games when he's allowed to go and do it in Scotland?
I know
we're public levels here.
I think you answered the question earlier on, Port, and you maybe never meant to. You kept saying there's a problem on the right-hand side. You mentioned that, and you've been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is we keep Cantwell, and we try to get him to solve all our problems, and we lose if we play him in his best position, Jayam.
Yeah, 100%, by the way. And a little bit like when he came in, we're trying to get Todd Cantwell to fill any gaps. We want him all over the place or whatever. You need your best player as your vocal point in the middle. You need him in the middle where he wants to be, getting on the ball, whatever. One thing he doesn't do, he doesn't stop running. He wouldn't have to do that if everyone else was doing their jobs. If he wasn't having to cover two ends. You saw in 1 minute he was up at high left near Matondo, the next minute he was back helping Tavernier. Ridiculous. And obviously, I know they're professional footballers, but you do that much running, then when you get the ball, you're half knackered when you get it. We want Tom Cantwell saving most of his energy for when he's on the ball. Obviously, there is defensive responsibilities like all players have, but we want him focusing more on going forward than going back.
If the midfield were doing their job, if the midfield were, guys like Cifuentes, Raskin, if they were going about their business and doing their job and keeping it simple, winning the balls, breaking up play, and giving it to Cantwell, we want to see Cantwell doing his best work in the final third day pitch. I appreciate
100%.
Todd Cantwell coming back, and chasing back and help tracking back, and he makes a lot of fouls. And I don't recall him doing that ever at Norwich. He was a flair player at Norwich. He was like, the guy that just created everything. But since he came to Scotland, I've seen a whole different side. I did, and I've said this to Yorkshire. I thought Todd Cantwell was going to be a fancy pony coming to Scotland, and I doubted whether he would make it or not because of the way I seen him at Norwich. But he's proved me wrong, and I'm glad, and I'll say that he's proved me wrong by showing setting standards. That he'll work for the team and he'll work hard, and he'll come up here to revive his career. And he's been excellent. But we want to see him doing his work in the final third day pitch. And that would be he'd be able to do that if guys in the squad would be doing their jobs as well.
No, 100%. And also, to be quite honest, because of his style and playing out, and especially in Europe, I'm not sure how much I want Tom Cantwell on the edge of the box with our ball anyways, just because he's more of an attacking player. Sometimes I gasp, when he's going for these turns or whatever. 9 times out of 10, it's all good, but you want him doing that 30 yards from their goal, don't you?
Yeah,
That's the big thing. But like you said, the rest of them were doing their jobs, and Tom Cantwell could do his thing up the pitch.
And it has to come together, Jay. I mean, it's all about reaction for me now. I think this squad, this team, the manager, I hope they're hurting that we are. I really hope they're really hurting for the next few days as well. But they'll soon need to turn that page and go to get their other eye on what's going to happen at the weekend, because they owe themselves, they owe the manager, the fans are owed big time. We need to start seeing this team improve, and we need to start understanding what Michael Beale's philosophy and where this team is going to take us. Because now, I'm struggling.
Right, come on, give us your thoughts. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, and listen, if you look at we wondered about last year, I thought our problem was scoring goals, and I think if you score goals, it changes matches. If you take Tav's goals away this season, we're in trouble. We've scored 3 goals for open play in the last 2 games against Ross County and PSV, and Tav's got 2 of them.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, it's not good, is it at all?
The open play, I'm not talking about free kicks, penalty kicks. The open play, we've scored 3 goals, and Tav's got 2 of them.
Yeah, and are you putting that down to quality or setup?
Well,
I know obviously them players should be good enough to score against these teams, but what I'm saying is it just a lack of, unfortunately now players more and more seem to be instruction based. Is it just a pure lack of tactics going forward?
Oh, quality. Poor.
Absolutely concerning. Like I say, I want obviously Tav and Bourne and a few midfielders to chip in with goals, but I want our front 5 or 6 to be doing the assisting and the goal scoring next year. This is what we paid the big money for. We paid big wages to get guys like Cantwell in the door, Cifuentes in the door, Lammers, Danilo, Dessers. We paid big money to get these guys in that was supposed to raise the bar, raise the quality, and to score goals. And yet again, the guy that takes a lot of criticism on this show and on other platforms, James Tavernier, against goals, carrying us, and we're probably in a lot worse place in the league if it wasn't for him, mate.
The bizarre thing was, JM, if we win on Sunday, when we win on Sunday, potentially we could be sitting top of the league.
Yeah, we could be a better position than when we're all happy when Moreno scored that winner against Warsaw, couldn't we? And I think it shows how far we've come. The fact that we could be in a better position than that, and we'll still be slightly disappointed. But Listen, if we go into, I think Bill said there was, if we go in top of the league, Europa League football, still in all 4 competitions, also might be a momentum thing as well for the league to go forward. I want it to be in the Champions League. You want to be at the best standard. You want to be competing, trying to do it, more money and all that. But it might be better for us over a campaign if we're back to that, competing and winning games midweek and then winning. You don't want to be getting gubbed again midweek and having to pick yourself up and go again on a Saturday.
Fox came out with a great point, Paul. It was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I couldn't help but laugh. He does it. He comes up with a good point once a year. But he said, what would be our aim if we were in the Champions League? It would be to qualify for the Europa League to be in it after Christmas.
After, it's true. It's true. Europa League's been kind to us, since the days when Gerrard got his respect back in that tournament. And like I said earlier on, I just don't think, due to finances and due to the finances that the powerful clubs have, that keep stretching away for us. I just think sometimes, mate, you have to know your place at the moment. And it's not a bad thing being a Europa Cup team. You still get to develop. We still get, we're Thursday night and we're Sunday games, mate, which I enjoy. Seem to do better on Thursday and a Sunday for some reason. I just think at the moment when this team's growing, in my opinion, that game just came a wee bit too early for this current crop. And this might be the tournament to allow these guys to cut their teeth in, mate, and just basically get themselves going and get this squad up to standard.
They guys have to cut their teeth domestically, put teams
100%.
to bed, score goals, and look as if we've got a style of play. Yeah. We have to put teams to the sword. We went 2-0 up against Ross County. It looked as if we were playing well, when ultimately the game petered out. We're looking for more. Giant, looking for more.
I can't remember the last time we put a team to the sword. Genuinely, that's how thing it is. Yeah, we're not looking just to win games 1 or 2-0. This league can go. You can need goal difference. You can put teams to bed, and also it gives you an opportunity to then rest players and give other players an opportunity. If we're constantly only 2-0 up or 1-0 up after an hour, 70 minutes, everybody's anxious and suddenly changes aren't being made either. If we could be 3-0 up at half time, we could rest maybe somebody like Goldson who's picking up a couple more knocks, or you can take Cantwell out of the team and protect him for a Europa League game. But we're giving ourselves too much to do just because of the lack of quality going forward. I know we eventually got the goals late on against Livingston, but was it quick enough? Was it? That was a terrible watch for an hour. We need to, like I said, these guys need to, before all the chat about coming over and trying to cut it in the Europa League or Champions League, whichever they think they are, these boys need to cut it in Scotland first.
Yeah. What there?
Yeah, well said, mate. I've said it on this show before. I think we have to, in my opinion, I would like to see us getting back to domestic dominance first. And once you get domestic dominance back, to continue our legacy, which is to be the most successful club in the world, the Champions League comes, because when you start winning league next year, you automatically qualify. So that the promised land's there. But to get to that, dominate your league, dominate your cup competitions, and everything will fall into place, i.e. money, standards, getting to the Champions League. It's all there. And I believe this squad has the makings. I've been domestically dominant, but we need to start putting teams, as you touched on, guys, to the sword and doing it quick, because it's been pretty stop-start, and like Giant touched on, I can't remember the last time we really dominated a team and kept it going. And it's not good enough, because this league might give right down to goal difference next year. This how tight this league could be this year. It really could. It could be eachy-peachy, and I just think these players need to get their finger out. They need to get their finger out, mate, and start showing us what they're capable of, because, and the manager, if I'm going to be honest, because right now, as I said earlier on, I don't understand where we're going at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's selection. The managers It looks as if Bonner could be. I think it looked as if it was a groin. I was initially told hamstring, but it looked like a groin. And if he's tweaked his groin, I'd say he's maybe out for a month. So maybe the international break will come for the right time for Bonner. Giant.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because I think Borna got a lot of stick, but he's definitely not been our worst player since the start of the season. To be honest, probably been one of the most consistent and one of the better, to be honest, since the start of the season, even though there was a lot of people think he'd be happy to be going. Obviously, I know you'll build up to game that tomorrow. We'll look at it. Is Yilmaz, was he just being rested as a caution to be left out of the Europa League, the European squad? I believe he's fit, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes in on Sunday, because, to be honest, it's bad enough having John Suter on his wrong foot. You can maybe get away with it in the centre, but it's unfair asking a right dominant-footed player to play on that left-hand side, isn't it, for 90 minutes against good wingers?
Yeah, the boy Sterling, he didn't look comfortable at all, did he?
It's not fair, is it? I know you can cover and you can fill in, but going in at that level, as in, I know you can only do what you can do and whatever. Someone are going to have to go in there professionals, but at the end of the day, the bloke's right-footed and played the majority of his career as a right back or a right-sided centre-back.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, the cameos we've seen for John Sterling, I'll be kind and I'll say the jury's out, Portbell.
I think it put it to bed. I remember I listened a few shows ago and you were discussing the fact that Dijon could be back up this year. I think there was talk that Yilmaz might be going and stuff, and people were saying, Adam Devine, Dijon Sterling could cover for Borna. And I think last night, and I know levels again, he was up against a guy that's about to be sold for 40 million quid at least. I think what it showed is Dijon Sterling should be nowhere near the left hand side of the defence and just be back up to Tav and just fight Tav for that strip, mate. But I'm with you, mate. The jury's out, but it's early. I'm not going to hang the boy out to dry, because I think his stature and his physique, he's got the makings of being a defender. And in his interviews I saw, he did say that he is a more defensive minded player than he is a forward thinking. So just be Tav's back up, big man, and take your time.
Yeah, when I say the jury's out, I'm not being disrespectful, Jim. I'm just saying that either not enough time to judge them, or what you're seeing doesn't impress you, but you've got to give them a chance.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the opportunities he's had been limited, and also people have got to be careful so much what they wish for. So they're looking at Sterling, like yourself, saying he's flattering to the sea, whatever. But any time we seem to lose a goal, people are saying it's because we've not got a defensive right back. So you need to decide what you want as well at the back. He's clearly not going to pop up like Tavernier did last night. He's going to be an old school right back, well built. So do we need that domestically? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think our right and left back are going to be the difference between us winning and losing the SPL. Or is it been more of a signing for the opportunity to play free at the back in Europe? Only time will tell, but he's not been given a lot of opportunity, so I don't think it's fair to judge him yet at all.
Yep. Come and join us, 01413561972. Give us your thoughts. Obviously, there's people out there calling for the manager's head already on social media. I understand you have a reaction to a bad result. I get it. And you're disappointed. You're disappointed that we're still in August. We've lost a league match to Kilmarnock and we've been hammered heavily in a Champions League qualifier. So the frustrations of following the manager. It would be a big call at this time for the board, wouldn't it? Massive. I can't see it happening, Port.
No, mate. Right away, the first thing I would say is, who do we go and get? And early bookies' favourites, you'd have all this crap with, David Martindale, you'd have guys saying Derek McInnes, because there's nobody available right now, mate, that would probably float any of our boats.
I'll tell you what, David Martindale would have been a good shout as the number 2.
Aye, that was muted. It was muted, mate. I did see some of that during pre-season. I don't know where it came from, but I've seen a lot of bears talking about it on all different platforms. It would have been bad seeing the wee man in as a number 2, especially his knowledge of the Scottish game and some of the players that he's managed to find. to keep Livingston in the Premier League. He's done very well.
He maybe dress a bit better as well.
Yeah. I think he's done very well for the budget and sort of.
Are you talking about your number 2 giant?
He looks like he's not long back from Seville, doesn't he? He looks like he's got back, doesn't he? Jesus. I don't want to go on too much, do you? But
if his shorts were a wee bit shorter last night, he could have been Jaffa in Seville.
You think Bill would have a look and tell him to go get changed, wouldn't you? You're on the telly. We don't help ourselves, do we? Jesus Christ.
I must admit, it did annoy me last night. I mentioned it earlier. It did annoy me. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Them things don't matter. If you can take them off if you're winning 5-1, can't it? But you can't. But not when you lose. Everything winds you up, and that's one of them, isn't it?
They look like lads on holiday like Grander.
Aye. I mean, he's got a lot of experience, yeah?
Yeah.
You know, but we're not seeing it, mate. We're not seeing it.
You know, I'm going to ask you a question, if that's all right, and it's regarding the team. Can you guys give me a formation and your team, your starting 11, who it would be at the moment? Not in any particular game, but just in your heads for what you've seen so far. How would you set up and who would your starting 11 be?
If you're basing it on form, we've not got a front player.
Right.
That's if you're basing it on form, we haven't got a front player. Giant.
Yeah, if you're basing it on form, you're gonna have to start Roof up front. I've only seen him for an hour. Yeah, you'd have to go. Obviously, if Barisic being fit, I think it's the same back four, isn't it? I mean, that back four were heroes only a week ago. Maybe got found out from their level last night. Maybe not helping with the quality. I think, unfortunately, then you're looking at Ras. Well, not unfortunately, then, but then Lundstrom probably gets in your side with Raskin. With Raskin, Cantwell just in front of him, and then maybe Batondo one side. Now I'm running out of players. I can't pick you an 11 and say I'm dying for them all to play on Sunday. And I think that's quite worrying, isn't it? After a pre-season, 4 European ties and 3 league games.
That's why I'm asking, GM, because I'm struggling as well.
In a League Cup tie.
I'm sorry, in a League Cup tie when people get half a chance as well. I think the problem is Bill writ off too many players too early in pre-season. I don't think he ever thought Rabbi Matondo was going to be playing for us. I get the impression he was trying to shift him, and it's just by pot like he suddenly ended up in our squad. I think Bill, at the end of the day, maybe writ off a couple of players too early. I mean, is Lammers an improvement on Hadji? Fully fit at the moment. I know we didn't see Hadji fit, but do you reckon he looks any better than Hadji?
Well, you know, I was always a massive advocate for Yanis Hadji on this show, mate.
You're breaking up there, Port. You're breaking up.
I seen a lot of quality in Yanis Hadji, mate, up until his injury. And
again, more numbers, which we kept seeing in the shift, don't we? Numbers, goals and assists.
Yeah. In Europe, we seem to light the place up. Seem to enjoy that tournament a lot. Do I think we made a mistake in letting Alaves take him on loan? I think the Spanish league's going to suit him, Giant, if I'm totally honest. I think you'll see quality up a Hadji, but I don't think he'll be back at the club.
I
don't think by the sounds of it, as long as Michael Beale's there.
We started pre-season and Lammers was about the pitch and that, and he was showing touches and getting involved. And then obviously he chipped in with a couple of goals, and because he's height, you think there's an asset. But since the campaign started, apart from a good strike against Livingston and a shot come cross, and if he meant it was an excellent effort last week, he's shown very little because he doesn't like the play, and he gets knocked about quite simply, and he's getting bullied. In Scottish football, you can't have that. So where do you play him? And if you play him, where do you play Cantwell, Giant?
Cantwell, and you're going to see that, yeah.
That's the biggest. That's what I think. It's almost as if we've it's a football manager team and trying to pick players. And like you say, I personally don't think you can play the two of them in the same 11. And Cantwell was a far better player than Lammers. He's quicker, looks more creative. And back in the last season, I know he hasn't scored yet, showing he can score goals if he's allowed to run into the box and run in late. I think he looks a more rounded player. So if you're playing, I don't think you're ever going to be happy with the balance of a side if you see Cantwell and Lammers in the same starting 11, because you're starting to wonder where your width and pace is coming from, aren't you? Because they're both passers of the ball.
Dude, we don't know if this is true, but we'll try to get it confirmed. $5.5 million for Glenn Kamara, a sell-on fee plus a promotion bonus for us. Yeah, so decent business for the club. Then Glenn Kamara for 50 grand, plus his wages, plus that strike at the ball to get us to Seville. Financially, he's done well for us if that remains to be true, Giant.
Yeah, real good bit of business, and it's all been done, hasn't it? He's got all the qualities to go and play at the top level. He's quick, really composed on the ball. For somebody who never got forward a lot, or didn't seem to want to get forward, anytime he seemed to get one-on-one, he seemed to finish the ball all right. I know he didn't score a lot of them, but he scored a few tidy finishes, including that one in the semi-final. No, best of luck to Glenn Kamara, and I think we're going to do well to find a player that looks better than him over the next season or so.
Yeah. Port Bear, tidy bit of business. Yeah.
Oh, like you, mate, we both enjoyed watching Glenn Kamara domestically and in Europe. I even watched him a few times for his Finland as well, where he stood out against, I think it was a game against Italy in particular. I saw him. Finland get a 1-0 win over there, and he was outstanding that night against Sandro Tonali, who's went to Newcastle for 60 million quid. We've always said Glenn Kamara glides across the pitch, mate. He's got pace, he's got a great first touch. He makes the game look easy, effortless. I think he's one of the players, mate, that's alright, mate. Some people might say it's a wee step backwards getting to Leeds. He probably could maybe get a bigger club if he was still in the same form he was, but his form at Rangers took a wee dip, so he's ended up in the Championship, mate. But sometimes you need to go backwards to go forwards. And I strongly believe that he will go down the Championship and prove a real asset to Leeds United and get a further move, because that guy, in my opinion, mate, is a Premier League standard player, skilled at Arsenal. You can see it at times in Europe and some of the games in Scotland. We see them, absolutely fantastic footballer, mate. We'll get another wee sell-on clause for that, mate. You wait and see.
Well, maybe only time will tell. We'll go with our best wishes, and once I've gone, as Southside says, but a decent bit of business, and I'm just a bit perturbed that it took so long. Why did they have to go to the last day of Monday? That deal was rumoured in July, Giant.
I've got a feeling it was more Leeds putting it off. Leeds might have maybe off rumours, not exact players. I think Leeds were maybe potentially looking at other players. And, Kamara had, if you like, played his hand, hadn't he? It was clear he was never going to play for us again. So it was a waiting game, wasn't it? And, well, with hours to go, really, for Glenn Kamara, you never know. He could have been training in the gym till January if things didn't quite go right. It's a risky game. Well, he'd still be getting paid, but it's a risky game these players play sometimes.
I also think there's a wee bit of maybe Leeds were hoping we would fold Oxford and maybe try to penny pinch, get him for about 2.5 fee. I think we would fold it for the transfer window clicking down. And obviously, what I'm glad of is we've stood with our ground and we've asked for the money we've asked for, and we've done well in the other clauses as well, mate. So I think we'd probably try to get him on the cheap, thinking we would panic.
As it stands at the moment, it looks as if we're going to potentially be the other Scottish team get out. It gives us an extra $500,000 with being in pot one. So we've made some money today without doing nothing with Glenn Kamara and the way it's planned out for us. But ultimately, we have to start turning our attention to Sunday, and I think that's a great point you made earlier on, Port, but I would try to pick this team. And then you've got the question, is Yilmaz fit enough to play at left back? So which your team on Sunday? I think the only thing I'm certain is Big Butland will be in goal.
We'll definitely have Jack Butland in goal, mate, 100%. What's available? Probably the same back four. Apart from obviously if Yilmaz is fit enough, because Yilmaz was pretty good against the game with them at the end of the season. So I'd be quite happy if Yilmaz's fit enough, even if he gives 60 minutes. I'd be quite happy with him at left back. And then I think my midfield three, mate, on Sunday would be Jack, Cantwell and Raskin. And my forward line would be Seema, Dessers and Matondo, mate.
Where do you play Seema, mate?
On the left. I'd put him on the left, I'd put Matondo on the right, mate. That's what I would do. I would just go with out and out pace on them two wings.
Okay. Try him.
You go, sorry, team for Sunday, yeah. I think I'd go, obviously you can have Butler in goal, your back four, obviously Borner's not going to be fit, so if Yilmaz is fit enough to play, I think it showed on last night there that we need to have a left-footed left back, so I'd have Yilmaz at the back. I think for this, I would have probably, I think it's going to be very similar to Portsmouth. I'd have Jack beside Raskin, Cantwell just in front of him. I'd have Matondo on one flank, on this left-hand side probably, and then Seema on the other. Then I think as a number 9, I'd have Danilo.
We should rush around there, and I know Dessers hasn't been good, but is Danilo showing that he can play that number 9 role on his own, mate? Would be his way deal.
I think hopefully in this we'll be more on the front foot and Campbell will be closer to him. And it might be an opportunity for them to play together. Because I don't think, even though I thought Roof and Dessers at times on, especially in the first half last weekend there, I think it showed when them two got close together, they could play and link up. But I don't think, obviously, the team we're playing, I don't think it's the right time to play the pair of them together. So I think you're going to have to get two people close to each other. And I think Dessers has had enough opportunities at that now and not shown anything. And you can't, when are you going to play this Danilo to get him a chance? You can't spend that sort of money. And what we're saying, he's not good enough. He's got to be let loose at some point, hasn't he?
If I start Matondo on my team, I contradict myself because I think he's a guy to bring on. But I think Kima Roof will be involved at the weekend, Port.
Right, what is the number 9?
I think he'll be there with 2, and I think the manager will go with Dessers again. I don't know if you were picking it on form you would, similar to what you done last week. They'll try and get him close and they'll play somebody on the wing. And then I think the problem with that is they then play Cantwell in a 3 and we put him at one side.
He looks lost unfair on him because I don't think he looks lost. It's not his position, but you don't get the best out of him playing there, do you, at all? I thought he was through no fault of his own, maybe the shape. I thought he was pretty non-existent for his quality away at Ross County there, playing in that role.
That's my problem, Port.
You definitely lose, mate. We definitely lose because we've got to. It's like I said earlier on, we're having to put square pegs in round holes rocks here because we've not got personnel to play in these positions naturally, and it'd be their number 1 pick, for position. So I think what we're trying to do is, wedge these players into where, like Jaime touched on, we're playing a game of FIFA, isn't it? You just want to play all your highest rated players and all your forward players. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, the world of football doesn't work like that. We've got to try and get the best team on the park that play in their positions, and it's their number 1 position, preferably.
Do you think it's more important? Do you think so on that then? Because I think we're trying to. I think because of performances, we're trying to get Matondo in. But do you think it's more important Matondo plays or Roof plays? Because if you're not trying to play both of them, you'd maybe move Campbell up into that Lammers position from where he played last Saturday, and then you could maybe get another midfielder in there, maybe Jack. You can maybe have Lundstrom, Jack and Raskin maybe, with Campbell, Roof and Dessers or something like that. Or does that just completely get rid of your pace?
No, you could start like that. You could certainly start like that to keep the game in control, and that's where you really need to ask your forward thinking players. They need to go and do the damage, and obviously your two fullbacks, because with that sort of midfield setup, you're just building that into a solid, protect the back line, and really rely heavily on these guys creating and scoring, which with that sort of what costs us
That's what they're
behind
paid.
them, what a
So would you
paid to do.
would you sacrifice Matondo for Roof or Roof for Matondo if you had to pick one of them on Sunday? If you needed one of them starting, they'd both be involved, I'm sure. But you reckon which one would you have starting?
I'd probably start Roof then, and like Oxshare says, Matondo's your impact player.
I feel sorry for him not getting a start, because in the last few games he's been one of our better players. And last night, in the first half, he made runs into his space and he never got the ball, and then he had one run when he never slipped to the corner, and that frustrated me. That one wee pass that he didn't make. But in the second half, he was our best player. You doubt it?
He done what you needed a winger to do. We can't moan at Rabbi Matondo for maybe half not tracking a man or defensively, can he? He's on the pitch to cause a threat the other end. And they were, I know they cut out, but they were worried him with a bit more quality. He would have got in for an opportunity than we would have seen if he had the quality to do like he did the week before.
That's the thing. One of these, there is going to be a game that this will click, and then passes will find guys like Sima and Matondo. It will come together eventually. But I think if you look what we've done, we've went back to, in the selection of this squad, we've went back to the tried and tested. We've left out players that we've given decent wages to. We've brought in as upgrades to what we already had. And we've went back to a lot of tried and tested players that we trust, and left out some of our summer signings. And that,
I mean,
again,
we talked about Tav talked about the land of the Giants. Cifuentes, Raskin. I don't think Sterling looks particularly big. He's got a build on him. He's not particularly tall. And if you look at their midfield last night, the boy that scored the first two goals, the build of him compared to the two, he's just brushing him aside. He's 22 years of age.
Yeah, the same with their right winger as well. He was Belgian as well as Raskin. How many times did he knock our boys over? That was their winger.
He's 20 and born as a full-grown man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know, and he's knocking them over, like genuinely running into him and knocking them over.
I've always said this. I think we're very soft. I've always said about our team, we're too nice. Sometimes it's not about tippy-tappy football and playing through the lines and, flicks and tricks. Sometimes you just got to get down and dirty and just get stuck right in. I've seen games won like that under Walter Smith. Walter Smith made a very good Rangers career on it.
Trouble is, the game's moved on now, mate, about contact and stopping players and tackles, You leave a mark on there, you're likely to get sent off. And even though tackling's part of the game, it's you need pace and power now. And if we played with that midfield, or Cifuentes, Raskin, and let's just say, Yilmaz was on. He was on the left, and Danilo was up front, and Matondo was playing. Where's the team of Giants?
Yeah, it quickly disappears, doesn't it? It's back to the old early 2000 when you're going to be worried every time they get a corner, aren't you? When it goes forward. But it will be interesting. It's a big one for Beale, isn't it? Because I didn't get a chat when you said earlier about how the pressure's building up on him. I don't think it's more sacked. I think it's the fact that any serious game we've had, because the league was pretty much done, I think in hindsight, every time he seemed to have got the starting 11 wrong. Whether it be the League Cup final, the semi-final, the game away at them where we needed to get away and get a win to stay in the league. That's a European match now. I think every time, tactically, the manager's been proven wrong.
If I was the board of directors and he walked in and said that was on me, I would kick him right into Henry Halls. Was that your fault? Was it? Here, take that then.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you because, like you touched on earlier on, he walks in, says that to you, and your first response to him is, "I backed you. What's happening?" And I got followed by a kick to the Charles de Gaulle's. Aye, no, he needs to get this right, mate. He needs to. I'll never call for a Rangers manager's head, mate. I'll never ever do it. But what he's creating for himself through notice signings, and we're all led to believe that he led all these, trips he went to speak to these players, and so there's no director of football to follow here. It's all on him. So there's pressure for his signings, and then one of his first big acid tests, the Champions League qualifier, pressure. He failed in that, and now all of a sudden the pressure's on him because we're going to an international break against our biggest rivals, and a chance to go top of the league, like he says, mate, which is pressure against our biggest rivals. He's got real pressure built on him next year, and sometimes we're a forgiving bunch, but he has to get this right, mate. He's going to end up falling his own sword. That's what's going to happen with this, because all these players, mate, like I touched on, that all his players, he went and spoke to them, looked them in the eye, told us they looked them in the eye, and made sure that they had the credentials, they made sure they had what's inside them, their heart, what they were coming to the project, etc. So, one thing's going to happen, mate. He's either going to be a success or he's going to fall on his own sword.
Well, aye. If things don't change, they will remain as they are. Right, aye, it'll be interesting. It's also going to be interesting, really, what our team's going to be on Sunday, and I think it's quite galling that Roof's our most informed striker. That's unbelievable, Giant.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? And the only one that looks dangerous. I thought he played very well when he came on, but that's somebody that's hardly not had a pre-season, just trained, and he looked sharp. But then we've got to be told that these other players need time to gel. It's quite concerning, really, isn't it? Is it too soon? Just because we've been going through the team, is it he came on too soon for Tom Lawrence? Do we think?
Yeah, well, Tom Lawrence. Aye, where do you play Tom Lawrence then?
Yeah,
well, sorry, GM.
No. This is the thing, isn't it? It's a you could maybe I'm talking if you're fully fit and hypothetical. You maybe play him in that midfield three, and that would allow Cantwell to go forward.
If you were playing a 4-4-2 and you'd him in one of your wide roles, I get it. If he would have been playing last night, or if you'd have played a 4-5-1 with Cifuentes wide, I know he wasn't in the squad, Tom Lawrence, but if you had to put into that, and it was Cifuentes on one side and Lawrence on the other, yeah, because he'll do the dirty work and he'll get involved and he'll always try and influence the game going forward, and he puts his foot in. But if you're playing a 4-3-3 and you've got Canwell and Raskin, where do you play Tom Lawrence?
Top heavy, mate. It seems like we're top heavy. This is why I said to you earlier on, I can't understand why he went for and spent all the money in the top half of the pitch without upgrading a bit of defence and maybe another different type of midfielder, a box-to-box guy, somebody that's going to go and break the lines and run beyond the number 9. I don't think we've still got that. They're running for deep midfield next year, Jim. I don't think we've still got. Remember them runs that Gascoigne would make where they go beyond the striker. We've not got that. There's no go box-to-box.
No box-to-box midfielder either. It seems to be number 10s or, if you like, number 4s, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've either got sitters or forwards, and I wouldn't see with the attacking players, you signed 4 or 5 attacking players. See if there was 2 wingers in that, you'd understand it, wouldn't you? Clearly. At least because he's trying to improve it, and obviously Sakala's going, and then maybe at the start, if you didn't fancy Matondo and Wright might have been going, you'd say, okay, I need 2 wingers here. But it's all, it's just a shed load of number 10s and strikers, isn't it? Doesn't give us any versatility and set up. It just like I'm maybe repeating myself. It's kind of plan B is just plan A, but with different players. Doesn't give you any versatility tactically, does it, to play against teams, or you also don't end up surprising teams either.
Yeah, and that's where the narrowness comes from, because we've not got the option, apart from putting guys that are not natural wingers into wide positions.
Anyway.
Everything's off central to the pitch.
Anyway, I've got a close report. I think we've been joined by Smurf. Evening, Smurf.
Evening, Ox. Evening, panel. I'm just sorry for phoning so late. It was just, we were talking about strikers there, and it sort of jogged my memory about something that's been concerning me. Don't really want to talk about yesterday, really. It's just, what I've noticed is in that Michael Beale's pressers, he seems to sort of sensitise the fans to, for instance, if we go out of the Champions League, we get into the Europa League, and the difference in finances is in single-digit millions, as if it's okay, He's also done it with other things, and one of them was with Sima. I see Sima as a through-the-middle player. So, when you look at that, the boy Danilo is not really hit the ground. Summers, when he complained that we were a bit too tippy-tappy and we weren't incisive, he get kiboshed, he get binned. And then it's not really working with the boy Dessers. He's just too slow. I just don't think he's got the quality, to be honest. And does anybody think that that Sima is the only viable alternative to Roof through the middle?
Giant.
Yeah, I'd agree most of that, to be honest. I think on the Dessers one, I'd agree. Listen, he's not been good at all, but I also think it's being unfair to ask if you like an old school number 9 or 10 to play with nobody around him. So I think there's a little bit on the manager there to try and get the best out of Dessers. I agree. I've said it as well. He's not been very good. But I think if you're going to play him, I think you saw at Ross County, if you play somebody next to him, it could be a little bit better. But then, yeah, the next value, maybe Sima. I don't know if he looks like, when he's played out wide, I don't know if he looks like the touch is good enough to play centrally. I think he looks good running forward and onto the ball. Maybe that means he's got a bit of pace behind him. But then, yet again, he looks quite dangerous in the air, doesn't he? He scored a good header pre-season. He's had a couple of opportunities. He probably is, but we spent a lot of money on this Danilo. Do we not think he deserves a chance to play at number 9?
Port Bear.
And therein lies a problem. Their Smurfs come on and through Sima into the middle of the pitch now. When we've already got Roof, Dessers and Danilo. And that's what Jai was touching on. Where does Danilo get his chance if I want to put, Sima next to Dessers? For me, when I've saw Sima, Smurf, I think I like him coming off the left, because obviously you've seen that goal he scored against PSV on his right and bends in the top corner. I think he looks dangerous when he's coming in inverted and coming in the inside of the pitch, and getting goals like that and creating. And that's how I touched on him when I picked my team for the weekend. I'd like to see him on the left and Matondo on the right with Dessers focal point in it. And I like to see this guy getting service. I don't think he's getting enough service, and I think we've been very critical of our strikers when the guy that's supposed to be giving the service to our strikers to get goals, it's been poor. We touched on it again. Tavernier's goals have been important again this season because from midfield to front line is the scoring. I just think that's the biggest problem we've got. Our strikers aren't getting enough service, guys.
What concerns me is, you can make a lot of systems and all that, but essentially what you're talking about is playing 2 up top. Maybe not a traditional 4-4-2, but certainly a little enlarged duo up there. And for me, you might get away with that domestically, but we're still in Europe, and nobody plays with 2 strikers in Europe. Nobody. And if you commit a second striker in Europe, you're taking it away for elsewhere on the pitch when we already, and let's be honest, lack the quality. We're going to struggle at that level. And the boy Dessers, I was watching yesterday, and when we were under pressure and they were playing with a high line, see, even if he managed to trap the ball and roll the defender and get in behind, he's not gone anywhere. He's got no pace. He's got to lay the ball off. He couldn't burn away from anybody. I just think, and you're right, we've not had service. Domestically, the guy might be good enough. But in terms of European competition, we don't have the players to compete the way we did a couple of years ago. We just don't. That's how I just see it, you know. And I might be premature, and I might be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I get egg in my face. But I don't see it. I wasn't a big fan of the boy Hadji, and I know you were for yourself, Boat Bear. I know you were, but I thought he was lacked power, and
I loved him.
and he lacked pace, but he had great ability. What I would say is I don't see that Lammers is an upgrade. And people say, well, they're no one of vying for the same position in the pitch. Well, I find that ludicrous. So I think there's a lot wrong. I think there's more wrong than maybe we realise. But we'll see how it pans out. We'll all be singing his praises on Sunday if we turn them out 3 or 4-0.
No, listen, I take a bridge man, Smurf, because then it is what it is, and my 2 points clearing them, we're top of the league, and you're hoping to get a bit of momentum. But however, we're being honest. You're being honest. We're being honest. We've talked about the players, and there's something just not right. The players we've signed haven't hit the ground running, and we're being kind to them to say the jury's out. Some of them don't look good enough. That's your initial thoughts. Now that can change quite quickly. If Danilo scores 2 on Sunday, he might not have a good game and scores 2. You start thinking different about him, don't you?
Yeah. You do, and to be fair, he's not a great. He's not really had a lot of opportunity. But he's under pressure for the get go. He's got to get wins straight away. He's got to hit the ground running. But my overriding concern really isn't the players, because it is what it is. If they're good enough or no, they'll either be there or they won't. They'll either have success or we won't. But my concern is that when we watch these pressers, he's getting it's almost softening the blow. For your manager seems to be softening the blow, well, if we don't get into that competition, we still parachute, and almost as if that's acceptable. And you're sitting there thinking, does this guy realise he's at Rangers? And then, I see Sima as a through the middle guy, and it's like, no, you don't, because you've not played him there. It's well, you did once, but what I'm saying is, it's almost as if he's thinking, oh, if these guys aren't there, I'll try this guy. And I just feel that he's trying to pull the wool over the fans, and you can't do it. You can't do it. People have been watching football and playing football for donkeys. People have been following this club. They're in their 60s and 70s and seen outrageously gifted players at the club. You can't kid them. And I'm just beginning to smell. I'm starting to smell it. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to go any further.
Oh, there's Jimmy who comes on the show. Jimmy, I think he's in his 70s. And if you listen back to the archives, when he talks about our manager, you'll see what he says. And some people might think that maybe somebody should have a word with him. He's got to wind his neck in. Maybe he says too much. Well, listen, Smurf, thanks for the call, mate.
Aye, no bother. I'll catch you later, lads.
All right, take it easy. Last word, JM.
No, absolutely. But last words, basically, yesterday's done now, isn't it? It's building up to Sunday. We know where we are, and all I ask from the manager of these players is enough talking about it now. Let's go and get it done. We've had enough of this through social media and different things. It's they've had enough backing from the fans. We just want to see a performance now. Looking forward to it.
Port Bell.
Indeed, mate. Just echo what JM said. Just that's gone. It's done. Time to move on. Onwards and upwards. There's a massive game at the weekend that means everything to everyone is, and it's probably a good game and a bit of a blessing next year, because it's a chance to put them to the sword and lift the spirits. And let me tell you, a result against them at the weekend will lift the spirits highly. So I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'm still confident, still on the Beale bus. I'm still behind these players. They just have to start showing it, mate.
All right. Listen, thanks to David earlier on, and of course Smurf who joined us. Thanks to your good self-report and JM, and enjoyed your contributions, both these. Thanks to Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. This is Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night with a Port Report and the Southside Super 6 logged up to Rangers victory the weekend. Take it away, Old School Blue.